Daring rescue, the prison ship loomed before Ethan Mercer like a nightmare made of steel and shadow. Its angular form bristled with weapon ports. Floating fortress designed to contain the most dangerous criminals in the quadrant. Ethan checked his oxygen levels and weapons one final time before disengaging his stealth shuttle from the asteroid belt. Mercer to Raven, beginning approach, he whispered into his comm. Remember, you've got 3 hours to extract me before the patrol returns. Copy that, came Captain Juno's sardonic voice. Try not to die, Mercer. You still owe me credits from last night's card game? Ethan grinned despite the tension. The mission was simple on paper. Infiltrate the prison, extract one political prisoner, and escape. The client had paid handsomely enough to settle his debts and live comfortably for months. What they hadn't specified was why this prisoner was worth such a fortune, using forged clearance codes. Ethan docked at a maintenance bay and slipped aboard. The corridors were dimly lit and eerily quiet. Most guards were concentrated in the central hub, leaving the outlying sections sparsely defended. He moved like a shadow, neutralizing the few sentries he encountered with swift, non-lethal precision. Cell block D7 appeared abandoned at first glance. Ethan checked the schematics on his wrist display. Should be here, he muttered, approaching the last cell. The door required a retinal scan. He used the synthetic eye patch he'd acquired from a black market tech. And the door hissed open. Inside, hunched in the corner of the sterile white cell, was a figure draped in tattered clothing. As Ethan entered, the figure lifted its head, revealing a face that stole his breath away. She was clearly alien, her skin a pale blue with faint luminescent patterns tracing her cheekbones. Large, almond-shaped eyes of deep violet regarded him with equal parts fear and defiance. Despite the prison's harsh conditions, she emanated regal dignity. "I'm your extraction," Ethan said quietly. "We need to move fast. You single? Quotes. Read." Her voice carried a melodic quality, each word flowing into the next like water over stones. "Last time I checked, come on." She stood gracefully, revealing herself to be nearly as tall as him. "Who sent you?" "Someone who wants you alive. That's all I need to know." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. They'd been discovered. Ethan grabbed her wrist, but she pulled back sharply. "I am Celine, royal heir of the Astrian Empire. I will not be manhandled." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Your Highness, with all due respect, right now you're a fugitive. Follow me or die here." Her eyes narrowed, but she nodded. They raced through the corridors, dodging security forces and automated defense systems. At an intersection, guards opened fire. Ethan pushed Celine behind him, taking a grazing shot to his shoulder before returning fire. His aim was true, disabling two guards while the rest took cover. "This way?" He pulled her down a maintenance shaft. As they reached the docking bay, more guards closed in. Ethan's shuttle was just ahead, but a final guard blocked their path. "Go," Ethan shouted, engaging the guard in hand-to-hand combat. The alien was stronger, landing a punch that sent Ethan reeling. As he fell, Celine leapt forward with unexpected agility, striking the guard with a precise blow to the neck. The guard collapsed. They tumbled into the shuttle as shots pinged off its hull. Ethan launched immediately, skillfully navigating through the prison ship's defensive fire. Only when they were safely cloaked and speeding away did he turn to his passenger. Celine was examining his wounded shoulder with concern. Before he could react, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to his wound. Sharp pain lanced through him as her saliva entered his bloodstream. "What the hell?" he gasped, jerking away. Her violet eyes met his, solemn and serious. "The royal bond is sealed. You are now mine." Unwanted bond. The Nexus space station hung like a glittering jewel against the void. A neutral territory where dozens of species conducted trade and diplomacy. In a private medical bay, Ethan paced while a physician examined the strange mark on his shoulder where Celine had kissed his wound. "Fascinating," murmured Dr. Nora Patel. Her dark eyes narrowed in concentration. "The tissue has been altered at a cellular level. It's integrated with your system, not rejecting it. Can you remove it?" Ethan demanded. "I'm not sure I should," Dr. Patel replied. It appears to be stabilizing rather than harming you. Celine sat regally on the edge of an examination table, her posture perfect despite the refugee clothing they'd acquired to help her blend in. It cannot be removed, she stated flatly. The royal bond is permanent, once initiated. Ethan rounded on her. You did this without my consent. You saved my life. In Astrian culture, that creates a debt that must be acknowledged. Her violet eyes softened slightly. I did not expect a human physiology to accept the bond so completely. It is unprecedented. Captain Juno burst into the room, her weathered face grave. We've got trouble. The station's crawling with hegemony agents, asking about a human and an Astrian. They're offering a reward for information. Ethan cursed. The client must have set us up. What client? Celine asked sharply. Anonymous. Paid triple my usual rate to extract you. Ethan ran a hand through his dark hair. I should have known it was too good to be true. Selena's luminescent patterns flared briefly. The Senate faction. They arranged my false imprisonment and execution. When that failed, they're ensuring I never return home. Well, Your Highness, looks like we're both fugitives now, Ethan said bitterly. Juno cleared her throat. There's more. According to station chatter, she's not just any royal, she's the heir to the throne. And you, Mercer. She smirked. Congratulations. That mark means you're legally her consort under Astrian law. I'm her what? Ethan's voice cracked. My chosen mate, Celine replied quietly. The bond is recognized throughout Astrian space as a royal marriage. The room fell silent as Ethan processed this information. I'm not marrying anyone, he finally growled. Especially not an alien princess I just met. The bond is already formed, Celine insisted. Whether you acknowledge it or not, you are now tied to me and to the throne of Astria. Before Ethan could respond, the station's alarms blared. Juno's come crackled. Captain. Hegemony troops are boarding. They're heading for the medical sector. Time to go, Juno said, drawing her blaster. They slipped into a maintenance corridor just as the first hegemony soldiers rounded the corner. Ethan felt a strange tingling sensation in his shoulder, the mark responding to danger. Without thinking, he pushed Celine behind him protectively. A firefight erupted in the narrow corridor. Ethan and Juno returned fire, creating cover for their retreat. As they backed toward the docking bay, Ethan noticed Celine wasn't just cowering. She was strategically pointing out enemy positions. Her awareness of their surroundings exceptional. They reached Juno's ship, the Raven, with pursuers close behind. As the engines roared to life, a hegemony soldier appeared in the airlock, weapon raised. Celine stepped forward, her hands moving in an elegant gesture. The soldier froze momentarily, just long enough for Ethan to tackle him back into the station. How did you do that? Ethan asked, as the Raven broke away from the station. Estrians possess limited psychic abilities, Celine explained. The royal lines are stronger than most. Ethan touched his mark. And this bond? What else does it do? Celine met his gaze directly. It connects us. In time, you may develop sensitivity to my emotions, perhaps even thoughts. It is considered sacred. I never asked for this. Neither did I ask to be betrayed and sentenced to death, she countered. Yet here we are, bound together by circumstance and biology, Juno interrupted from the cockpit. Hate to break up this lover's quarrel, but we need a destination. Where to? Ethan and Celine exchanged a long look. Finally, Celine spoke. We must go to Astrea. Only there can I reclaim my rightful place and ensure your protection as my consort. Journey to Astrea. The Raven slipped through the starfield like a ghost, running dark to avoid detection. In the ship's small galley, Ethan watched Celine prepare a traditional Astrian tea, her graceful movements mesmerizing. 3 days into their journey, and he was still adjusting to the reality of their situation. The mark is changing, he observed. Studying his shoulder where intricate patterns had begun to extend from the initial point of contact, it follows the bond's development, Celine explained, handing him a steaming cup. Your body is adapting remarkably well. Most non-Estrians would have rejected it by now. Ethan sipped the tea, surprised by its pleasant, slightly spicy flavor. So, I'm some kind of anomaly. Perhaps her violet eyes studied him with scientific curiosity. Or perhaps the universe has its own plans for us. Captain Juno entered, interrupting their moment. We've got a problem. Hegemony blockade around the Kessler Passage, the only safe route to Astraean space. Ethan frowned. They moved fast. Someone's feeding them our likely trajectories. We could attempt the void currents, Selene suggested. When both humans looked at her questioningly, she continued, quantum slipstreams that run through normally impassable regions. Astraean navigators have mapped them for generations. Those are suicide runs, Juno protested, not with proper guidance. Selene's luminescent patterns brightened with confidence. I was trained in the ancient navigational arts. Ethan felt a strange sensation, a whisper of Selena's certainty flowing through their bond. You can really do this? With your help, she answered. The bond allows me to share perceptions. You will be my anchor while I navigate. Hours later, the Raven hovered at the edge of a swirling nebula, gases and cosmic dust creating an impenetrable maze. In the cockpit, Selene sat beside Ethan, their hands linked. Clear your mind, she instructed. Feel the connection between us. Ethan closed his eyes, focusing on the warm pulse of the mark. Gradually, his perception shifted. He could sense Selene's consciousness extending outward, reading the invisible currents like a map. Through her awareness, he saw pathways where there appeared to be none. There, he said, pointing. That fluctuation in the particle density, followed their directions, the ship diving into the nebula. What should have been a chaotic, deadly journey became a strange dance as they followed the quantum slipstreams. Ethan felt more alive than ever. His consciousness partially merged with Selena's alien perception, after emerging safely on the other side. Ethan found himself reluctant to break their connection. When their hands finally parted, he felt oddly bereft. That was incredible, he admitted. Selene smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. You have natural talent. Few humans could attune themselves so completely. At night, unable to sleep, Ethan found Selene in the observation lounge, gazing at the stars. Tell me about Astraea, he said softly. She described crystalline cities that changed with the seasons, forests where the trees communicated through light, and oceans that sang during certain astronomical alignments. Her love for her world was evident in every word. And what awaits us there? Your people won't exactly welcome a human consort. There will be challenges, she acknowledged. The Senate faction that arranged my removal will not surrender power easily. But there are those loyal to my family who will stand with us, as Ethan repeated thoughtfully. He realized with surprise that he was beginning to think of their predicament as a shared journey rather than an unwanted burden. That night, in his dreams, Ethan saw Astraea through Selena's memories, beautiful and alien, yet somehow calling to him. When he awoke, he found her watching him from the doorway. You were in my dream, he said. And you in mine, she replied. The bond grows stronger. Trials of Kingship Astraea filled the view screen. A world of swirling blues and violets with magnificent ring structures that shimmered with artificial light. As they approached, Ethan felt his mark respond, a warm recognition that this was Selena's home. We're being hailed, Juno announced. Royal Guard vessels. Selene stood tall. I will speak with them. The communication revealed a divided homeworld. News of the princess's return with a human consort had thrown the political establishment into chaos. The Senate faction publicly denounced her rescue as a kidnapping, and the bond as coercion. While loyalists to the royal family prepared for her arrival, they landed at a secluded royal estate rather than the capital. Greeted by Selena's former mentor, High Counselor Thorin, the elderly Astraean's patterns dimmed upon seeing Ethan. So it is true, Thorin said gravely. You have bonded with a human, Selene replied without apology, and he has proven worthy of it. Thorin circled Ethan, examining him critically. The Senate claims you manipulated our princess for political gain. I didn't even know who she was when I rescued her, Ethan replied evenly. And this bond wasn't my idea, yet you bear it, Thorin noted. Interesting. The sacred mark would not manifest if there was no compatibility. Turn to Selene. The people are uncertain. A demonstration of the consort's worthiness would calm fears. The trials of ascension, Selene suggested, traditionally undertaken by royal consorts. What trials? Ethan asked warily. Tests of character, courage, intellect, and empathy, Thorin explained. Designed to prove one's fitness to serve alongside the ruler, Ethan considered refusing, but looking at Selene, he recognized the political reality. Her position remained precarious. If he abandoned her now, her enemies would use it against her. I'll do it, he said finally. The following days tested Ethan in ways he'd never imagined. The trial of intellect required him to solve ancient Astrian puzzles that shifted and changed as he worked. The trial of courage placed him in the crystal caverns, navigating deadly terrain to retrieve a ceremonial token. Most difficult was the trial of empathy, where he experienced the emotions of Istrian citizens through a psychic interface. The alien feelings threatened to overwhelm him until he felt Selene through their bond, anchoring him just as he had anchored her in the nebula. Each night, exhausted, he returned to their quarters where Selene tended his wounds and helped him prepare for the next challenge. Their conversations deepened as they shared stories of their vastly different lives. One evening, as she applied a healing salve to his back, Ethan caught her hand. Why me? He asked. You could have let me get captured at the station, found another way home. Selene's patterns pulsed softly. The bond chose you. I merely recognized what was already there. That's not an answer. She met his gaze. Your soul burns brightly, Ethan Mercer. I saw it the moment you entered my cell. Not a mercenary, but a man of principle disguising himself as one. Moved by her words and the emotion flowing through their bond, Ethan leaned forward and kissed her. Her lips were cool against his, but warmed quickly. The mark on his shoulder flared with pleasure as their embrace deepened. Later, as Selene slept beside him, Ethan received an encrypted message from Juno, who had been investigating the conspiracy. She had discovered proof that Senate leader Vantus had orchestrated Selena's imprisonment. Working with hegemony forces to eliminate the royal line, tomorrow would be the final trial. And Ethan now knew they faced enemies both within and without. Crowning glory dawn broke over the crystalline palace, its towers refracting the light into rainbow patterns across the capital city. Ethan stood on the balcony of the royal chambers, his ceremonial armor gleaming. The final trial would take place before the full Astrian court, a trial of leadership. Are you ready? Selene asked, appearing beside him. Her royal regalia transformed her, the crown of living crystal complementing the natural patterns of her skin. As I'll ever be, Ethan replied. The mark on his shoulder now extended across his chest, the intricate designs matching elements of Selena's own patterns. Through their strengthened bond, he could sense her determination tinged with concern. Vantus will be there, she warned. Be careful what you say. The great hall fell silent as they entered. Thousands of Astrans watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. At the center stood a holographic display of Astrian territory. Highlighting border conflicts and resource allocations, Senate leader Vantus stepped forward, his elder form belying a sharp, calculating mind. The human consort must demonstrate his understanding of Astrian governance by resolving these 5 critical situations. One by one, Ethan addressed complex, diplomatic, and military scenarios, drawing on Selena's knowledge through their bond and his own tactical experience. He proposed solutions that balanced tradition with pragmatic innovation. The crowd's mood shifted gradually from skepticism to reluctant admiration. For the final challenge, Vantus himself posed the problem. The hegemony threatens our outer colonies. How would you respond? I wouldn't, Ethan replied calmly, because the hegemony isn't the real threat. Murmurs spread through the hall as Ethan continued. The real threat is here in this room. He turned to Vantus. You arranged Princess Selene's false imprisonment. You conspired with hegemony agents to have her executed. And now, you prepare to surrender Astrian sovereignty in exchange for personal power. Well, chaos erupted. Vantus shouted denials, but Juno had entered with the evidence: financial transactions, communications, undeniable proof of treason. As royal guards moved to arrest him, Fontes activated a hidden device. "If I fall, so does Astria," he snarled. The palace defenses suddenly went offline. Outside, the sky darkened as hegemony warships emerged from hyperspace. "He gave them our defensive codes," Celine realized in horror. In the ensuing panic, Ethan's military training took over. He coordinated with the Royal Guard, establishing emergency protocols and evacuation procedures. Through their bond, he and Celine worked in perfect synchronicity. She connecting with the planetary consciousness to activate ancient defensive systems. He developing battle strategies to counter the hegemony forces. Fighting spread through the capital as hegemony troops teleported to the surface. Ethan found himself defending the palace alongside Astrian warriors, his human combat techniques complementing their psychic abilities. The mark blazed on his skin, granting him heightened reflexes and awareness. The turning point came when Ethan led a small strike team to the planetary defense nexus, capturing it from hegemony troops. Reactivating the shield system, they trapped the invading ships in the upper atmosphere where Astrian vessels could target them effectively. Victory came at a cost. Many had fallen, and parts of the beautiful capital lay in ruins. But as the last hegemony ships retreated, the Astrian people's cheers echoed through the streets. In the aftermath, the Senate convened an emergency session. Thorin addressed the assembly. "Princess Celine has proven her right to rule, and her consort has proven his worth to Astria. The ancient laws are clear. They shall be crowned together." Days later, Ethan knelt beside Celine in the ceremonial chamber. As the living crystal crown was placed upon his head, he felt Astria itself welcome him through their bond, no longer an alien world, but a second home. Rising as king consort, Ethan gazed at Celine, now his queen in truth as well as law. Her violet eyes shimmered with emotion. "Not bad for a mercenary," she whispered. Taking his hand, "Not bad for an accidental marriage," he replied with a smile. The Astrian people bowed before them. Their princess returned and the human who had become their king,